Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. Before we start, we just want to introduce you to our sponsor. Our sponsor is the Twitter handle @MugsNFL. They're a company that offer a range of custom items such as mugs, t-shirts, crewneck jumpers, and hoodies, all customized with your favorite sports player or your sports team. That can be any sport ranging from the NFL through to the NBA to UK sports. All you have to do for an extra 10% off your order is drop them a message on Twitter quoting our podcast, that is the Hardwood Hoops podcast, and they'll get 10% off your next order. Cheers and enjoy the show. Hi guys, just a quick message before the podcast starts from me and Ben.
Yeah, I am not at my house at the moment, so my internet is shocking. So there's a little bit of audio midway through that's a bit dodgy, but bear with us. Hopefully it won't happen again because we're going to start doing this in person, aren't we, Liam?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, it's got a little mic and everything, so the audio will get a little bit better. So yeah, sorry about that, and also sorry that I dropped an F-bomb. We've never really clarified if it's an explicit podcast or not, but we try not to swear, and I dropped a big F-bomb right in the middle. So yeah, apologies for that if you're listening in the car with your children.
We got too excited.
Too excited for the return of basketball. But yeah, we hope you enjoy the episode, and we'll speak to you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hardwood Hoops podcast. This is episode 10, and I'm here with Mr. Ben Jones.
Buongiorno.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Everything's good. Very warm again back in the UK. But
yeah, loving it. Just in time for my summer holiday, being a teacher. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Ben hasn't got a real job, everyone. He gets the whole summer off, so perfect.
Listen, say it to everyone, there's a shortage of teachers across the country. If you think you can do it, sign up.
Basketball teacher, that's about it. Right. Cool. So this is going to be titled 10 Days to Go because there's 10 days to go to the restart. Yeah, I was going to say, how are you feeling in general about 10 days left and how long we've waited and getting hoops back?
I'm just absolutely buzzing for it. Like, I've been ramping up day after day, watching more basketball content, all the stuff coming out of Orlando, just watching old clips, old games, just getting so ready for this. Plus, it ties in quite well that this is our episode 10. How convenient is that?
Very convenient. 10 and 10.
Love it. What about you?
Jordan Clarkson, your favourite player? 10 and 10. 10 turnovers, 10 points a game.
Steady.
Yeah, no, similar to you. Really excited. I've been following that Twitter handle of the NBA Bubble Life. You know, they're taking all the funny videos and photos from all the players.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite cool. Getting me excited for it. Listened to a few podcasts again, like the JJ Redick podcast today with Pat Bev. Getting me hyped up for the restart and for Clippers run at the finals. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's been a long wait. It's going to be weird, obviously, because we've seen other sports without crowd, but it still take a while to get used to, this sport with no fans. And obviously small arenas, they're not playing in their big arenas like football, for example. So it's just going to be a little bit weird getting used to it and all the sideline reporters and the angles of the camera. But yeah, it's just been cool and just can't wait. It's been trying to go through all the possible scenarios and thinking of our Western Conference predictions, how wrong we're going to be, how right we're going to be. So excited.
I've just been watching a lot of the teams putting up a couple of clips from their training sessions and stuff, and it's just like random odd shouts and the shoes squeaking and stuff. I'm like, is obviously with commentators over the top, trying to imagine that's what the games are going to be like for now, unless they do 100% come out and say, oh, we're going to put crowd noise in and music and all sorts. It is odd, but I think you'll quickly adapt and get used to it.
Yeah, they haven't confirmed, I don't think, yet. Different broadcasts, what the plans are with crowd noise and no crowd noise, or if there's an option to turn it on or off on League Pass. So we'll have to see. But I'm willing to give anything a go, really, with or without, and see what it sounds like. Just good to have basketball back. on that note as well, it's quite positive as well in terms of the restart. There's been no negative things that have come out in the press. We've only had 2 positive cases in the latest testing results. So I think all in all, it's looking A, that we are going to get the basketball in 10 days, and B, that it's going to be as successful as possible, which is really nice to hear.
Yeah, no, I'm super looking forward to it. I guess it's like we've been saying all along. Once they're in there, there's such a low percentage of them actually catching the virus from anywhere, because it is a bubble. So as long as they don't go in with it, then you'd hope it stays sort of almost 0% throughout.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because all these countries and scientific experts just recommend lockdown, not to leave your house, less human contact. That literally makes the perfect sense to why they've all done that, B, why countries have seen decreases that have done that, and also how the NBA results have gone down as soon as they've got to the bubble, because it clearly works. The less human contact, the less outside influence, the better, which is
Yep.
good for the NBA and all their players and families' health. We might see a jump when the families get involved, but I think they'll be so strict with the 2 negative tests, as long as there's not false negative results. I think we'll be lucky on that front as well. Touch wood.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Just need to be consistent with it, don't they, and not let anyone off, no matter who it is. They need to
Stick to their rules, yeah. Well, they're working, aren't they, the rules? So they need to stick to that. Going back to what JJ Redick said as well, he just said, from his point of view, like being in the bubble is crazy. He said how well the NBA's done. Me and you have mentioned loads of times we're huge fans of Adam Silver, and JJ has just been saying that him and many of the other vets just all feel the same. Like, they know it's not normal, they're going to miss their families, etc. But they're like, when you're there, how like good it is, how strict some of the rules are, all the things they brought in. Like, we've seen photos of the barbershop being built today. Like, he just says, honestly, he cannot believe how great the NBA's done, which is good because it took them so long to work out what to do, but they took the time and came up with the best plan. Like, that's exactly what that time was for. So we just want to commend, I think, the NBA and Adam Silver for what seems to be a great job so far.
Well, JJ Redick's also been involved in one of the big videos to come out of the bubble frat campus so far, shotgunning their beer in his little paddling pool.
Yeah, the Bud Light, yeah, and in the ice bath, as he calls it. Yeah, that was quite funny, to be fair. He said that on the podcast that he didn't think he'd get, because it was quite a small account. He said, I won't quote tweet it, I'll just reply and say if you get 15,000 retweets or 10,000 retweets, I'll shotgun the Bud Light, thinking no one would see it. And then all the players and teams and fans started cheering it. And he said I had 10,500 retweets in like 6 hours. So we had to shotgun a beer the next day, which he's not done for like 12 years, he said.
No. It was quite slow, wasn't it?
Said he wanted to get all the beer down rather than go for time, which I commend him.
There we go. Quality, not quantity, I guess.
Definitely. So yeah, a little bit of other bubble news then. We've had a couple of players enter the bubble that weren't there originally. So we've got more players in this really, but in terms of high profile, we've got James Harden, Nikola Jokic that have now entered the bubble and they've started training with their team. So that's good, Ben, that they're healthy and well and able to come into the bubble. And obviously it's really good for their teams, being the talisman of both their teams, that they can start training, get fitness and just get those minutes on the court together that we think is going to be vital.
Yeah, especially, from both of them really. I don't know why, but my timeline has been just like inundated with videos of James Harden and the Rockets training. I think the devices must be listening and hearing me say Rockets a couple of times, but don't understand in what context I'm saying it. And it's just churning out all this James Harden content, and I'm like, I could not care about this. Show me Jokic. I want to see skinny Jokic training. Don't want to see bearded James Harden.
Yeah, I found it interesting how nuts the Twitter was when he arrived. Harden in comparison to Jokic, which is quite funny, but obviously just a superstar, isn't he? So people love him, people love to hate him. So, but good for the Rockets. If we take our bias hats off, it's good for the Rockets and the Nuggets that they're there.
Definitely, we've said all along. No matter like our personal opinions on whatever, the thing that is the utmost importance is A, everybody's healthy and fit, and B, we get the best quality basketball that we can out of this. And to get that, you need all of the top players to be fit and healthy and playing, because even if there's players you don't like or don't like watching or whatever, without that player existing or being there, we wouldn't have the game we have today. So you've got to commend everybody for what they bring to the table.
Definitely, and especially for the Rockets, the one star not being there yet, and having those those positive tests, it's good that they can have James Harden back there as soon as he's back.
Yeah, really good.
On more sour notes, really, to the opposite way, unfortunately, Zion has had to leave the bubble in Orlando for family reasons. Obviously, it's a private man. We wish him well, but even JJ Redick said that they just sent him a message to the team and said, "I will hold it down for you." And the words they used were "whenever you're back." But until then, think about your family. So obviously, we don't know the situation, but there's no indication if he's going to miss games, not miss games, miss loads of games, come back at all. Like, I know the idea is that he will come back, but if they're eliminated, for example, that might not happen. So
Yeah,
crazy story, really. We don't know much about detail, but we do know what a huge miss it's going to be to the Pelicans if he misses any time whatsoever.
definitely. For a player in his rookie season, he is the X factor for that team, and it seems a lot of pressure to put on a young guy. But without him, I can't quite see them getting over that hump of those 8 games to get them in a good enough position to either get into a play-in position or get that 8th spot. Their chances drastically drop. I don't know where I read it. I can't remember. It was released at the same time as him coming out that he had to leave. But another article stated that he'd been obviously not linked, but in training and things, he'd been suffering from severe cramps in his legs. So he's obviously been struggling a little bit with the reconditioning. But yeah, we definitely wish him well and his family all the best. I want to see him back and playing because we've not seen much of him this season, and I want to see, like I just said, the highest quality basketball available, and he needs to be there for that. So all the best.
Yeah, and the NBA won't be happy if he misses a lot of time, because there's a lot of people around the league that think that they almost, I'm not saying made all their decisions, but they filtered some of their decision making towards the idea of getting him there as a future face of the league, competing for that 8-9 seed, to try and get in the playoffs. So
Yeah,
him not being there is a big hit for his team, big hit for the NBA, big hit for TV, obviously big hit for merchandise. So yeah, it's going to be a big miss. I agree with you, actually. I do think that if he was to miss the full 8 games, which A, we have no idea if that's true, or like no idea that's going to happen, but B, no way of telling in the future. But I really think they'll struggle to get to even the 9 without him. I just think he's such a big player to their team, and also it's more of the mental thing, isn't it? It's the fact they've been ramping up as a team, and then great, our best player, our star,
yeah.
has to leave, and if there's obviously things going on that they're worried about, obviously they care about him as a teammate as well, so they're gonna have that distraction. So yeah, I think the sooner he's back, better for the Pels, and I can't see them progressing if he's not back, unfortunately.
And Josh Hart was quoted in saying, "If we'd had Zion all season, we'd be a top 5 team." I mean,
Yeah,
like he is their X factor, and I think they would have done a lot better. But
I think they'd be a top 8 team for sure.
they'd be top 8. I couldn't push them up to top 5. I think that's very ambitious from Josh Hart there. Looking at like we did in that list last week, you look at those teams, and even with Zion in, I can't put them above. Well, yeah, I can't squeeze him into the top 5.
Yeah, I watched a lot of his games at Duke just because I absolutely love him. And I would say there's a chance that I could be right. but the problem is with him and his conditioning and body size, etc., that it's hard to say, oh, if we had Zion all season, but I don't think there's going to be many years in his career where he's there all season. And look how many stars actually play the whole season anyway, Like
Yeah,
a lot of stars pick up little injuries. It's not a case of, oh, if we'd have had him all season. Well, not many teams get to have their players all season either way.
no, it's very rare, isn't it? Especially nowadays with the whole Kawhi debacle is now turned into players sort of being able to medically rest. Even though after was it 2 seasons before Pop tried to rest Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Manu and stuff on a easy road game and got fined a ridiculous amount because they didn't declare it as a medical rest. It was just down as rest.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, they changed the rules now, and then you've got to have more of a medical rest, and they put that in the CBA, obviously about time off, etc., to try and obviously give players a break, but also not stitch up fans to
yeah,
buy tickets for certain games and get there and everyone's resting. But yeah, no, I'm not sure I agree with the top five thing, but I do think there'll be a stronger team. I do think someone like Brandon Ingram though would have struggled more if he'd have been there the whole season, because he almost got into that star role and
yeah,
got to learn a lot and got to take shots, and maybe he wouldn't get with Zion. So I think there's positives to the team and negatives really that he missed games. Yeah, I'm not quite sure that you could just say, "Oh, Zion's in," that they'd be a top five, because I think Brandon Ingram's role would be a lot reduced, and you'd lose some of that firepower on the other end, especially outside shooting, which Brandon Ingram's a better shooter at the moment than Zion. So
yeah. No, I've really enjoyed watching Brandon Ingram as well. I think this was the opportunity and the step he needed, and he stepped up big time, and I think it's great. I hope he takes another step next season.
yeah, he's going to be key in the bubble if they don't have Zion. So we'll have to watch out and see what happens. And on that note of Brandon Ingram, he is much fancied as a top five candidate for the Most Improved Player award this year. And this week we found out that the NBA awards are going to be based purely on the regular season. The bubble games don't matter at all. There's been no confirmation on when the ballots are going to go out, because obviously people who are voting for this are humans. So if they watch 4 games of the bubble and Zion does play and scores loads of points, or Luca does play really well and it goes above someone else in the most improved rankings, they might need to get the ballots out soon. We haven't had that confirmed yet, but we do know, Ben, that they've been instructed that it's all the awards are regular season based. What's your thoughts on that? I think it's fair, because obviously a lot of teams are missing and schedules have changed, that they just go with the regular season before the virus, obviously.
I'm a bit down on this. Like, I think it should include these 8 games, because these 8 games are billed as regular season games. Therefore, they should be included in the ballot. I understand it's not fair on the teams that aren't there, but who out of those teams really is going to be an MVP or a most improved or a rookie of the year? Looking at the list,
Yeah, all the top 5 seeds betting wise for each award are going to the bubble. So yeah, in that sense, I understand what you mean.
So I think give these players, especially your top seeded players. So like we said, Giannis and LeBron don't really have a massive amount to sort of keep themselves motivated for through these 8 games. So why not include in these 8 games the some more points for going for MVP, and then they might fight out more, get some more entertaining games out of them. If they can make a case now in these last 8 games, that recency bias might play into everybody's voting. If Giannis actually smashes these 8 games, he might go for a unanimous MVP. If LeBron puts a really good case down, like he was doing towards the end of just before lockdown, he might come out victorious and sneak another MVP. I really think it's a bit of a missed opportunity to sort of push the marketing of it and have the players fighting out for these awards. But I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I like the idea of it, just because I think it's very hard with the 8 games to mimic the schedule. So obviously, a lot of teams are going to play a lot of different players. A lot of teams are going to have easier schedules, going to have harder schedules, etc. So I think it's easier to do it up to that point. And if the part of the excuse is that almost some of these 8 games are going to be lower quality basketball, and they don't want to take away from people's chance of winning awards, if they thought about it in that sense, so a most improved player might start slow because they haven't played basketball for 4 months.
Yeah.
And that might take away from their credibility, but they've worked so hard up to a point, then I can see the point. But I definitely see both sides. I do think it's pointless, though, if they don't get the ballots out now, because if you're telling people don't include the 8 games, but you don't send the ballots out until 2 weeks' time, people are going to, mentally are going to include some of those games. So
Exactly.
I do think they've got to commit either way. If they don't send the ballots out in the next week or so, I think it's an incorrect decision. But yeah, we'll have to see. On that note, have you got any? We haven't prepped this, but have you got any thoughts on who should win the what I would say the big three awards are: Rookie of the Year, MVP, and Most Improved. Just any quick thoughts on who your three would be for those?
Yeah, I got loads of thoughts. Do you want to hear them?
Well, maybe not on the MVP.
No, I think MVP is close, but it's got to go to Giannis. Personally, as a resurgent season LeBron has had at the age he's had and the things he's done, absolutely incredible. But Giannis has done it on less minutes. So, you can't debate that. I've got to give it to him. Rookie of the Year, Ja Morant. Just on games played, what he's done this year has been incredible. He's just taken the league by storm.
I think that's the actual easiest award of the three, I would say, wouldn't you? I know people go Zion, this, and that, but if you really look at the numbers, minutes played, and the stats, it's very clear that Ja is definitely the winner for me.
Yeah. Who did you have as your MVP then?
Same as you, Giannis. I think maybe if it was a full season, LeBron had a chance to catch him, but even with 8 games, not enough. I just think Giannis is just too dominant, really. Like you said, with the stats and the PER, and obviously you've got the little thing that team success does count, and the Bucks obviously were looking like they were going to be the 1 seed across the whole of the league at that time. So that also plays into your favour, doesn't it? Even though it's very rare to win back-to-back, but I do think, he was going to win it. And I've mentioned before that I've got a large wager on him to win it. So I'm biased. But I think he should win it. If it came out that LeBron won, I would not be shocked, because the voters do vote with their heart sometimes. Like Russell Westbrook wasn't the best player. He just got the first triple-double average. And it was just new, so he got voted for it. But if you looked at a lot of the deep stats and actual gameplay, like, he's getting a lot of false rebounds.
Yeah.
But it was just a narrative story, so I could see LeBron getting it more narrative, because you don't get many back-to-back MVPs. But I think Giannis deserves it. I agree with you completely on Rookie of the Year, like in terms of the reasons, just less minutes, and what Ja's done with his minutes is special. But what about Most Improved? There's loads of candidates for that. The betting odds are quite tight as well.
This is tough. Bam has obviously had an incredible year.
Definitely.
He's improved leaps and bounds. Brandon Ingram, as we've already said, and I'm sure you like Brandon Ingram because he's obviously always gets compared to KD.
He'll never be KD. I dislike him more because of that, actually. But I like his style of play. He just didn't suit playing with LeBron, didn't he, really, at all? So I've absolutely loved seeing him this year. He's really special. He's just buried in a team that doesn't get a lot of coverage, That's the only issue.
Yeah. And one that's sort of left field, but I really like this as a shout for Most Improved. He won't get it at all, but going for 2 years in a row, Pascal Siakam, because
that's a good shout.
You look at how he's continued to improve and what he's done in Toronto now without Kawhi. It's been fantastic. Like I said, he won't get it at all, but I love him as a sort of a random left field shout. Again, depends on these last 8, whether they include these last 8 games or not. If they're not including them...
No, they're not included for any awards, no.
I think Bam's going to get it.
So in terms of the odds, Bam is favourite by quite a lot. And then after Bam, it goes Brandon Ingram, like we said. And then the third favourite is actually Luka Doncic, which I think is a really good, clever bet. Because if he doesn't, obviously, because he was third in MVP odds for a lot of the season until he went down with that knee injury, with ankle injury, sorry. So he's a good bet in terms of value for money. But yeah, Bam is very heavily favourite. And the next one is Jason Tatum, who a lot of people like. After that, it's kind of long shots. But yeah, I like Luka and Jason Tatum as the 3-4. Siakam's not even in the top 8.
Wow.
Which is crazy. But yeah, Bam's heavily favoured. And I think it's between him and Brandon, to be honest, even though I'd like to see Luka get it. I just think that's probably the safer bets, really.
Yeah, no, like that. Is there anything on there for defensive player?
There will be. Let me find it. Hold on, 2 secs.
I've got. It's a tricky one because Anthony Davis was tipped for it at the beginning of the season, and I know he kind of wanted to go for it, and I still think he's within a shout. But
Yeah, he's third favourite.
Yeah,
He's 5-1 at the moment, so obviously
I,
it's like 50 quid, 50 quid, 10 quid on gets you 50 quid back as an example.
but again, I think this should maybe go to Giannis. I think he anchors that team defensively, and he could get an MVP and a Defensive Player of the Year award. So, he doesn't sort of make his presence felt that far out from the paint when he's on offense, and he also just absolutely bosses the paint on defense. But again, like you said, although they're the number one team in the NBA, like the Pelicans, they don't actually get that much media coverage, so none of it really gets seen. You look at some of the way he manages the court and the way the players feed off his energy, it's just incredible. Obviously, it helps that he is an absolute freak of nature and he could just get anywhere in 2 steps and his arms are like go gadget stretching across the court. But that's what I'd probably have to say on it.
Yeah, he's heavily favoured. He's actually more of a favourite for the Defensive Player of the Year award than he is the MVP now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a lot. Second favourite is Rudy Gobert. This website's in American odds, so it's hard to explain, but he's way over double the odds. Rudy Gobert is and Giannis, way over double the odds, which LeBron James is a little bit closer. But yeah, Anthony Davis is third favourite. Same odds as Luka was to win Most Improved, so he's a good value bet if you like an outsider.
Yeah.
If you think maybe the league won't want to give Giannis 2 awards, he's definitely a really good outsider. And then after that, you've got like 60-1 is like Kawhi Leonard. So yeah, you're almost just chucking money away at that point. Even though he's one of the best defenders, obviously, as Ben mentions very often, just doesn't play enough.
Doesn't play enough.
Likes his rest.
Damn it.
Cool. So that's all we've got to say really on the award side of things. One other thing, so a little bit of the social justice stuff, because we know when agreements go to Orlando, Ben, a lot of the stuff the players wanted to agree prior was a lot of the social justice, Black Lives Matter stuff, because it took away their focus on those issues because they've been taken away from the protest and from their homes and chucked into the bubble. But we've heard this week that a couple of bits of news on the matter. First, Russell Westbrook is going to help design the warm-up shirts with social justice messages. Easy for me to say. Social justice messages on for all the players. He's part of the NFLPA, and they've been given the green light to design the warm-up stuff and some pre-game and substitute clothes for the players. And Westbrook's been like tasked with that matter really because he's into his fashion, he's got his own label, etc. So that's really cool that he gets to be involved with that, and obviously letting the players almost have their say. The messages again are pre-chosen, similar to the jerseys, but at least the design, etc., can be done by the players.
Yeah, I'm skeptical though. I hope he does a good job for everyone because Russell Westbrook is stylish and can pull off practically any look, bar 1 or 2 that he has tried to pull off. But I hope he goes more on that sort of conservative side and thinks about all the others that can't quite pull it off like he can, and does something that promotes the message and not the style. Because, he does love bringing the limelight and the spotlight onto his style sometimes. So that's all I hope. I just hope the messages don't get lost in this designing of whatever it is it may be.
No, I think one of the main things is it's just showing really good, what's the word, almost relationship again between front office, between the NBA organisation and the players as well. It's quite nice for them to. We haven't seen the outcome obviously, but it's quite nice for them to try and involve them again, isn't it? To try and keep them on side. We've seen this week that the NFL and their players are having a bit of an argument about stuff to do with coronavirus, etc. So it's really good. I think that the league again under Adam Silver's guidance, just highlighting how it likes to involve its players and like be a big group, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. We keep praising him, but Adam Silver's doing a great job, and I think the NBA is almost stronger than it's ever been before. They've had seasons where they've had lockouts and disputes and things like that, but everybody seems to be buying into whatever it is going on behind the scenes, and they're trying to push all these positive messages. So keep it up. Whatever they're doing, keep it up.
Yeah, we're going to need Adam Silver to do something wrong soon, just because it's going to become an Adam Silver stan podcast at this rate. Which not what we want. We're talking about basketball. Come on, Adam, make a mistake.
He's going to leave as commissioner and buy the Rockets.
Oh God, he had a hell of a lot of money in his bank if he could afford the Rockets. Fair play to him. Yeah, and the other bit of social news we had with the NBA is more of a negative one, really. So, hey, this is something Adam Silver's done wrong. The NBA have refused to let Jimmy Butler wear no name. He didn't like any of the messages, and he's got his reasons for wearing no name, and he wanted to try and do that. So on the back of his jersey, would literally just say the number and nothing else. But the NBA refused that and said it's part of the collective bargaining agreement that you have to have a name represented on your jersey. So if you're not taking one of the pre-agreed messages, then you have to take your own name. So it's a bit of a shame because the reasons behind that he was doing it was really cool, trying to signify that he's more than just a basketball player. And a lot of people were supporting his message, not just Heat fans, to be fair. A lot, especially in the UK, a lot of the groups I've seen, a lot of people thought it was a really cool idea, and he's a very well-known player, very outspoken. And I think it could be a mistake, just to blanket say no. Whether they could have done, like for the first game, for example. Oh yeah, first game, we'll let you do it. Then you need to put your name back on or something. But to just blanket no it, I think that's just maybe cause a bit more negative press and maybe going to cause Jimmy to speak out a bit more on the matter than the league would probably like.
Yeah, I think they've said no to so many players trying to do their own thing with the shirts that even when it comes to something like this, where he's saying, "Well, I don't want to put anything different or new on it. I want to just take away from the shirt." They almost have to step in and say no because, like I said, so far they've had to say it to everyone else, so they can't make Jimmy that sort of specialist case, even if it is, like I said, taking away, not adding to it. So I can see where they're coming from, but equally, I think what you said is a great idea. Just say, just the one game, and then open it up and say, look, if anybody else wants to join Jimmy and take away from your jersey for one game, have just your number, then by all means do it. And then after that, it's back to name or slogan, whatever it is you're going with. But for that one game, you can do it. That's probably a more sensible way of approaching it, but they're saying no to everybody, so it's not going to change for Jimmy Butler, who, by the way, I have something to talk about when we've heard a little bit more about you on this. So come back to it.
I just think, like, I think that's a good idea. They could have said to, because a lot of players, like you said, have wanted to put other message on, but being refused. They could have offered this as an extra solution. And Jimmy Butler's a well-respected player, so I think a lot of people would have said, "Okay, I quite like Jimmy's idea. I'll do that for one game as well," rather than just have to wear my own name because I don't want any of the other messages. So I think they just missed out an opportunity there, really. But what did you have to say on Jimmy? Another topic to do with Jimmy.
Well, he was he's the snitch hotline, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard's been caught for not wearing a mask, and so and so's been caught for leaving the campus to pick up food. Well, someone rang the hotline about Jimmy Butler. Apparently, it was at 3 a.m. in the morning. There was a lot of noise coming from his room, and the campus security, or whatever they are, went up to him and knocked on the door. And he come to the door and he opened it, and he was just like drenched in sweat, and had a basketball tucked under his arm. And they were like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just practicing my dribbles." But he was working at 3 a.m. in the morning, and like obviously people are trying to sleep. It's 3 a.m. Jimmy Butler. Go, just don't do it. Just stop. But here is my additional bit. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner. So,
oh God,
conspiracy theory that Jimmy Butler rang campus security on himself because
so he'd look even more intense than he already looks.
Yeah, ultimately, who cares that Jimmy Butler is training at 3 a.m. in the morning? Like when he said it when he was training with Miami, I mean, it looked cool, but what reporter was there at 3 a.m. in the morning unless he had told a reporter that he was going to be there at 3 a.m. in the morning training? That's the only way they would know. So who is going to release the fact that Jimmy Butler was training at 3 a.m. in the morning in the lockdown bubble, apart from Jimmy Butler? Because he's the only one that would know. My conspiracy is he's rang the campus security on himself, make a headline.
But I think it was Chris Haynes that reported it. But yeah, he might have got told by the security guard or something. But I think it's a cool story. I love Jimmy Butler. I think he's more hardworking than the average NBA player. I think he's a ledge.
His commitment is incredible.
It was during the quarantine period, right? Wasn't it? Because they weren't allowed to leave their room, I believe. So he was trying to get sweat on. Apparently, when they answered the door, he was head to toe in workout gear as well. So he wasn't just wearing like whatever he'd wear to bed or to chill in his room. He was wearing full heat workout gear from head to toe, including the headband. Just sweating it out, which I just think is amazing. It's almost just like I don't know if it's like a mental mind fuck to. No, I'm not supposed to swear. Sorry, mental mind f to his fellow players that are in the same hotel block as him. Because obviously they're in with a lot of the other Eastern Conference teams. So I wonder if he's just doing it just to wind them up a little bit, which I find quite funny.
Yeah, they also were wondering if maybe TJ Warren is like in the room below him or around him, because those two hate each other with a passion. But I can see him doing it as a bit of a joke to wind other teams up as well, definitely. I mean, I love the fact he's got that commitment and that work ethic. Like, there's a reason he went from homeless at one point to one of the best players in the NBA, and that is his drive and his motivation. So good on him, but it's another conspiracy theory I'm putting out there.
Yeah, I'd say this one's could be right, to be fair. I'd say you might not be a million miles off for that. Even though I find it cool that he did it, I do think that he's the sort of person that would just mention it to the reporter the next day, whenever quarantine's over, or drop him a DM and just say, "Oh, I got busted by security last night," or go speak to the security guard and find out what happened, and they'll find the story, because I just find that very funny from Jimmy.
Yeah.
Maybe even called the hotline on Dwight, but we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Might have been JaVale McGee trying to get some more minutes.
Oh, don't know about that. It's weird to think that JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard are practically the same player nowadays. Weird.
Both bad players. Speaking of superstars, going back to Jimmy Butler, bit of good news from the bubble. Carmelo Anthony, one of the greatest scorers of all time, my personal hero, has apparently cut weight, and the words used to the reporter has a more defined role for his NBA restart, which makes him feel more comfortable with the team. Me and you have mentioned this before, mate. That clear defined role is clearly the fact that he's now going to get to play the position that he wants to play, even though no one else wants him to play, which is small forward, because of the news about Trevor Ariza missing the game. Surely that must be what he means when he says a more defined role. What do you think?
Yeah, I also think you read that wrong. I think it said more defined roles. Talking about that.
Hey, he's in good condition.
He looks slim AF. I saw him doing a little standing dunk as well. He can jump again, which is good to see. So maybe he can play that
hell of a dunk.
Small forward role. But yeah, that's what it is. The more defined role is we've run out of small forwards. You're going to have to play there. So
take more shots as well. Cheers. And he's like, cheers, guys.
Yeah, he is loving it. He's going to be like, it's just going to be him and Damian and CJ just stood around the rim, just chucking up bombs from everywhere. And
they got a lot of big men to rebound as well.
Exactly. Now. That is their team layout now. Just chuck it up, let the big guys rebound, and just keep going. It's good to see him back and like in shape and committed. And I think a team like the Blazers and stuff, if they can, I think they'll keep him around. And if not, I think a team will pick him up again next season. Definitely. I think it'd be a shame not to. But again, I think you got your link to this wrong. I think you were talking about bad players, weren't you, before? In Dwight No, I'm joking. But
I'd take Melo 1-on-1 over Dwight all day.
I think anybody would, to be fair.
I was going to say, do you think this could be it? If even if the Blazers don't make it into the playoffs, do you think that we could see the end of Carmelo here and he might retire for good? Or I know he didn't want to retire the first time. He kind of had a couple of bad performances, didn't he? The last couple of teams and almost got blackballed, and then he didn't want to sign for a non-playoff team, and he waited for the right team. Do you think this could be it if they do or don't make the playoffs? Do you think their success has any differing on the outcome in terms of if they don't make it, he might come back for one more go with them, etc.?
I think the better they do, the more likely it is he will come back to them on like a minimum or whatever they can afford. However, I think the likelihood of him getting signed next season by anybody is down to him alone. It's becoming a bit of a like Allen Iverson situation. He needs to let go of where he was. Although he is still an incredible player, he's not the Melo of a couple of years ago, where he would definitely be a starting role, or he would definitely get loads of minutes, or he needs a big contract. He needs to be a bit more flexible in what he's willing to accept, whether that's a sixth-man role, seventh-man role, limited minutes, picking up more for injuries, whatever it may be. And even if that's a potential outside of the playoff team, if he wants to stick around a bit longer, he's going to have to let go of some of those sort of caveats he's got about him and the way he plays.
Which might be harder if he has to go on a stretch run of a lot of shooting with the Blazers in the next few weeks. But yeah, no, I agree. It's sad to see whenever he does leave the league. But I'll tell you what, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love the Blazers to get into an elimination game and just see if he can just roll back the years, because he can score on anyone, and they've got 3 players that can score on most people. So they're an exciting team on one end, but it's just the other end is the issue. The only other things I'd say is crazy still that he's never joined LeBron. The amount of times they've spoken about it and always wanted to play together, it's never happened. And now JR's there, who's Melo's other close friend. Whether that could happen or not, I'm not sure. And also there are rumours that the Knicks are interested in him. They want to add a shooting big. He might want to retire with the Knicks because they want to retire his jersey anyway, allegedly. So there's rumours around the organisation that he could come back there, and that also links to them apparently wanting obviously to trade for Chris Paul. They're also close friends, and he hasn't got the chance to play with LeBron. He might want to go play with Chris Paul in New York. So I think we could see him in New York next year, but I think aside from New York or the Lakers, I'm just not sure it's going to happen, especially with the Blazers in a bit of salary cap hell. They are.
I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the season, I came to you with a potential way the Lakers could get the banana boat crew together on that Lakers roster, and it looks like New York potentially could try and do it in New York. I don't know how long LeBron's got left. I think he's got an option. I know it was a 4-year contract, wasn't it? He signed
to be there for 2 more years. Yeah.
So, but I think it'd be great for it'd be great for him to go back to New York. I think it'd be an amazing place for him to play, and he can be that, like you were talking about, them getting Chris Paul to sort of mentor the others. I think Carmelo could be a great mentor for the young talent that they've got there. It's just, again, like I said, it's what he's willing to accept. If he's willing to accept to go there and give the young guys the big minutes and come in and fill in wherever he can, then go for it. 100%. Would love to see him in a big market team, but it's down to him, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. When you've earned that much money, you can almost do what you want with your basketball decisions at this point.
I'd be well happy to play for anyone with that much money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. Or not play and just drink wine at home, which is what he also does.
Join D Wade.
Yeah. A little bit of breaking news just to end our little news segment on. Marvin Bagley, Ben, has had to go for an MRI due to a foot injury sustained in the bubble. And apparently it's not looking good. Obviously, they're not going to know the results till tomorrow, I don't think. Or maybe tonight, our time, English time. But yeah, what's your quick reaction thoughts on, A, if he is missing for the Kings, how badly it affects any chance they do have of getting to the 9 seed. And also just in general of his career, really, because he's had so many injuries so far. It's really stop-start. I feel sorry for him.
Well, I think that's it. Now it's it for the Kings, isn't it? Their key players out. There's no way they're making it. No,
Really
as
positive.
you know, from last week, I don't have the Kings making any impact whatsoever. So I don't. Negative. The biggest issue here is his injury history. Was he managed to get 13 games this season?
Yeah.
The games he did play, he played well, and he's got a bright future. It's just another young, stay healthy. Is he going to go the way of the league, or is he going to be able to sort himself out this off season and string together a healthy season off the back of this? Fingers crossed he can, because I think he does have a lot of potential. Not necessarily to become like a superstar to contribute to a roster. So wish him well, but don't want him to rush back for this because, like I said, there's no point. The King shouldn't even be there anyway.
Yeah, I agree on the last part and definitely on the first part about his career and wishing him well. Problem is that we don't know how much. Obviously, it's not a big turnaround even now to the next season, but hopefully he gets some positive results and it's not as bad as maybe they first feared. So fingers crossed for him. So cool. We're just gonna move on from the little news, all the news we had now, and talking about how excited we were for the return of basketball, and finish with a nice little betting segment. So on our normal episodes, when there's not a coronavirus and it's weekly or maybe twice a week next season, we're going to try and do a bet of the week or a betting segment every show. Or even if it's twice a week, maybe one of the episodes will have that in. So we thought we'd start that today. I've got some bets that I'm going to say to Ben. We're gonna have a little quick chat about each one of them, and then I'm going to ask Ben what his favourite or second favourite would be, and then I'm going to put that bet on behalf of the podcast.
Oh,
so are you ready, Ben?
Yeah, hit me up.
Cool. So I'm going to start with the highest odds, so what people would deem as the least likely, and we're going to work up to the more likely ones. So the least likely, odds-wise, Raptors and Clippers final. So they both must get to the finals, obviously East and West, is 25-1, which is, I thought, was great value, bearing in mind the Raptors are one of the best, well, probably the best coach team in the league, current champions, and the Bucks have never proved it in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on 25-1 Clippers Raptors final in terms of value?
I think it's great value. Like you said, I completely agree. They are one of, if not the most, the best coached team in the league. They're obviously missing a very big piece compared to last season. Do I want to see a Raptors Clippers final? Not particularly, but it would be quite interesting to see them play against Kawhi, their former savior. I mean, there'd be lots of drama and media hype around it, but in terms of the matchups that could happen in the finals, it doesn't jump out at me.
I was quite shocked at the odds, really, just because one of the teams is the Clippers. Because obviously they're near enough joint favourites in the West, to be honest.
Yeah.
So to get them in any matchup at that price, when the other team, you think that's almost like that's longer odds than the Celtics to be in the final with the Clippers, longer odds than the Bucks, and longer odds than the 76ers. So I just thought that was a good value. What about another finals matchup? This is actually shorter odds, so more likely in terms of the bookmakers' opinion, but I can't believe it's more likely. And it features one of my favourite teams. It's the Bucks versus the Mavs in the final. That's 22-1.
Again, quite interesting odds there, isn't it? Like it's not completely out there that this couldn't really feasibly happen, because the Bucks are definitely going to win the East. I've got no doubt about that in my mind.
You think they're going to win the East?
Yeah, the Bucks are coming through. This is, if they don't this year, I think, I don't know.
They never will.
Yeah, pretty much, unless they really sign some players to help Giannis out. But
so you like that value then when you've got one side that you think's almost guaranteed, and you just need the Mavs to cause an upset on the West side. But the issue is in the West, obviously, with the seedings, you've got to beat the Lakers and the Clippers, or hope someone else beats one of them for you. So that's the part that makes it tricky, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at where they are now. They play if no one moves, they play Clippers first round. Like,
so you'd have to play the Clippers.
They're already on the back foot.
Yeah, then an easier matchup in the second round, and then you'd get the harder matchup again with the Lakers in the West Finals in that case.
So,
all right.
Slightly there.
Well, that one's the same odds as this next one. So, tell me out of these three, which you prefer, the two we've had, or the next one for 22-1 as well, is the 76ers, which I know you think the Bucks, but the 76ers versus the Lakers in the final. It's also 22-1.
Now, this, for me, hearing that, seems the most likely of the three.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the news coming out of 76ers camp is they're starting to play to their players' strengths and not trying to force them into playing roles that they shouldn't be. I know Ben Simmons is a great point guard, but you cannot have him and Horford and Embiid all on the court at once, because it's just three people who want to play in the lane and be bigs, and it doesn't work. So they're sliding Ben Simmons to power forward as a starting role. And for me, that could potentially unlock the sort of the 76ers potential. And obviously the Lakers on the West side are one of the favourites to come out of the West and get through to the finals. I'm obviously a little bit biased as well, because the only NBA game I've seen was in Philadelphia with the 76ers this season when they went to overtime against the Nets. So I'd love
that one.
I'd quite like to see this matchup. Ben Simmons and LeBron, obviously good friends, got the same management, going at each other. Joel Embiid, plenty of other bigs to fight. You know, him and McGee going at it, him and Dwight going at it.
I was going to say, same management. LeBron basically is the manager. He's just not allowed to call himself that.
Dwight came out recently and said that, I think it was Dwight, he said Joel Embiid's the biggest flopper.
So a bit of rivalry there.
Bit of rivalry, yeah. I like this. This is a tasty matchup, and it's
cool.
Pretty good odds.
All right, well, there are three longer shots. So I will put a bet on the 76ers Lakers finals for the podcast with those odds. Now on to our shorter ones. Obviously, these are more likely to happen, but I still quite like the value in a couple of them. So I'll start with this one. This will definitely, I'll lead with the one that's going to play into your heart the most. The Bucks and Lakers both to reach the finals is 4-1, boosted at 4-1. So you said the Bucks are going to win it. You said all along you think the Lakers are going to get there, but you understand it's probably Lakers or Clippers. So you've got 4-1 there for Lakers and Bucks final. Are you liking that bet?
That's worth a flutter, isn't it? Oh, that's getting my juices flowing.
That's a Ben favourite, is it?
Yeah, I like that. I'm real high on that one. There's just what's not to like about that. The odds are pretty good.
Lack of 3-point shooting.
Well, you don't need that to be an entertaining game, you know? You got big Giannis going inside, pulling down backboards. You got LeBron, like, trying to sort of not travel with the ball. It's potentially a great matchup and a great final. So
I want the Bucks to actually win that finals, which I wouldn't want them to beat many other teams. But
I think there'd be a few out there that did as well. Not me,
but a few.
And like I said, the odds are quite good for that as well. Surprisingly.
Yeah, 4-1. Yeah, it's boosted, like I said. So
yeah,
it's supposed to be 3-1, but we can get 4-1, which is quite good. All right then. Well, I'll see if either of these next two take your fancy over that one. See if I can change your opinion. Well, with recent discussions about Zion, I don't know how much you're going to like this one, but the Pelicans are 3-1 to finish in the 8th seed. And I only give you this one, Ben, because you predicted them to finish in the 8th seed in your predictions. And 3-1 value for something that Ben thinks is a cert to happen should be good value.
Well, if we go back to that prediction, I think you'll find I had a three-way tie for the 8th position. It was just that they have more wins because they've played more games, and I'm down on this right now with Zion out, and like I said, they played into my prediction by luck essentially. So I could not back this myself. No, I'm out. I'm out.
Okay, cool. Well, last one to try and get you out of your Lakers Bucks matchup is the Blazers 7-2, so the shortest odds of all the group to get into the playoffs in any format. So basically, a lot of the bets are for 8 seed or to finish in the 9 seed. If you back 7-2 to get into the playoffs, you're basically just predicting that they'll get to the elimination game and win. Something that you kind of indicating that you wanted to happen in one way when we did our predictions, but not because you don't want the Lakers to play the Blazers in the first round. What are your thoughts on 7-2 to get in?
This gives me like so much inner turmoil. My heart's saying one thing, my head's saying something completely different. My heart wants those Blazers to get that, to make it, and to get into the playoffs so badly because I love their roster. I love their team. I love what all the players on that roster are about. And they did so well last season. I wanted them to replicate that again and push on this year. But my head says if they make the 8th seed, they're going to knock the Lakers out. And I don't really want that to happen.
Well, I think the Zion news actually plays into this bet, doesn't it, a little bit? Because obviously we're saying, and the Marvin Bagley news actually, we're saying, all right, Kings and Pelicans are much less likely if Zion doesn't come back on time and Bagley's out. So then Blazers are mentally your favourite for the 9 seed, and then you're just asking them to beat the Grizzlies twice, which with Dame Lillard, they could beat anybody twice.
Yeah, and they're the healthiest they've been all season. So
I would say, though, it would take a hell of a run for them to get into the playoffs, so that it would take a lot of effort. And when it comes to a first, I wouldn't sit here and personally say that they would like. I know you're not saying they definitely beat the Lakers, but you're saying they'd have a good chance to beat the Lakers. I'm saying they'd have a good chance to win 2 games. I don't think they'd beat the Lakers, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Big Melo dropping a standing dunk on LeBron's ass.
Out of all those teams that can fight for that 8th spot, I feel like they're the team that can give them the most grief because I don't think they've got the guards matched up very well because CJ and Dame are just world-class guards, aren't they? They can take the bigs all day. It's just that guard matchup is not favourable.
I don't think you're getting a sweep in that matchup at all. Whereas, if I'm honest, apart from the Mavs, any Clippers playoff game against any of those teams and any Lakers against any of those teams that are around the 6 to 10 seed, apart from the Blazers and Mavs, I can't see anybody else winning a game. So I do think it would make it more interesting. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the actual odds? 7-2. Would you rather take the Bucks and Lakers getting all the way to the final, which is obviously a lot more amount of games to win, at 4-1? What's your final bet?
Yeah, Pelicans 1 out. Blazers, because I'm so split on it, I can't rest on it. So I'm going to have to stick with that first short bet you gave me. Lakers Bucks final. Lock it in, baby.
Boom. So we've got Lakers and Bucks 4-1 to both reach the finals. Doesn't matter who wins. And the other one you want is 76ers Lakers finals. Is that right? So you're basically, both your bets involve LeBron getting to the finals, which I could have predicted before we started.
That actually didn't, in my head, it wasn't a massive factor, the Lakers getting there. It's just the matchups that would have been, I think, are so much more interesting and potentially likely than anything else that's down there. It was so close to getting that Blazers bet, though. So close.
Well, I'll put those bets on behalf of the pod. We'll see if we have any winners. And we'll get the betting segment going when we get to the playoffs. Sound good?
Yeah, love the sound of that. Keep this going.
Yeah, well, the plan, everyone, is we're going to do a opening night preview, aren't we, Ben? Before the two big games of the first night. That's the only benefit of being a UK supporter is we can record the pod after work hours, but it'll still be 6 hours before the NBA starts.
Yes.
So yeah, back to team no sleep. And then after that, the aim is to try and do 2 pods a week just throughout the playoffs, and then back down to 1 all the way through, probably to the start of next season after that, unless there's any big news and any bonus pods and that. But yeah, we're going to try and come twice a week because the playoffs are going to be nuts. The amount of games in the regular season and the playoffs, Ben, I think we're going to need 2 episodes a week to cover it, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think, with everything going on and the amount of games being played, it would be a minimum of 2 a week to keep up with it all. And don't forget that the air quotes pre-season friendlies start Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we get to see some actual basketball, even though a lot of it will be ramping up sort of minutes, won't it, and performance. A lot of turnovers, I imagine.
Yeah, I think so. Heavy rotations. Be nice to see those 10th men getting some minutes,
It's almost good to like warm your brain up to the idea of no fans, isn't it? Though it's quite cool they've done it because they can also experiment with sort of interviews, the sort of stuff they show during the game, the amount of social justice advert, etc. They can really get a good feel for the broadcast in those games because they don't really matter, obviously, before the paid stuff comes in later on.
No, I think it's great. It's great for us. It's great for the players. It's great for the media. Apart from the fact that someone might get injured, there's not really a downside to this.
No, definitely not. And just remember, everyone, I can't remember the exact price. We'll put it out on our Twitter, but League Pass is doing a special offer for these games. So anyone that follows, like, for example, if you're a Hawks fan and you've got a Hawks pass, obviously you can't watch any games now because obviously the Hawks are out of it. They're basically cutting your subscription off and give you any money back for the games you've missed. But if you want to see any of the games, then honestly, they've just got a brand new offer on yesterday. I think the loads of my mates have took up, and it's really good. So go check that out, guys. So you can go follow the games.
Nice.
Cool. Right. Well, we'll leave it there then. We'll speak to you in it's over a week's time, mate, for opening night preview. And then that's it. Basketball. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be sleeping, eating, watching, consuming everything I can with basketball over the next few weeks.
Boom. Sounds perfect. Cool, guys. Well, go follow us at @_HarborsHoops. Remember to try and please share the podcast. We'd really appreciate it. And we will chat to you soon. I'll see you later, Ben.
See you soon.